Hi there, and welcome to a special episode of the Build Your Platform podcast. This is a special episode because this is my first ever interview episode, and today's guest I have on right now is author and positivity writer, at least according to his Tumblr blog, KG Heath. KG, how's it going?
Very good, thank you, Andy. And yourself?
I'm doing great on this lovely, really freezing cold Saturday morning. It's not very comfortable to be a northeastern American right now because the weather is still really acting up. How are things going your way?
Must be getting some of your weather. It's we just had hail here, so it's making for a good day.
All right, that sounds good. So let's get things started by you telling us who you are and what you do.
Okay, so around about September last year, I published my first novel, which is called Song of the Universe, which is a sort of a horror fantasy novel. And that's where that started my journey to try and build a platform and provide a product that people really want to get hold of. And I've managed to get some sales of that book and a bit of interest, but it didn't really take off too well. And then January saw the Your Turn challenge come about, and that's just really kicked things off for me with Twitter followers and interest in the blog, and taken a much more of an interest in writing about positivity and entrepreneurship and leadership type topics on the blog. So I do seem to have this split between being an author where I get to write about fantastical things and blow up things and kill people, and the positivity stuff that I do on the blog, which I've got a real passion for as well. So that's sort of what I split my interests in, really. Throughout this year, I'm aiming to continue to experiment with the strategies that I've come across.
Okay, that sounds great. If I could somehow fashion a job that split my time between writing about positivity and blowing things up and killing people, I think I could I could have a lot of fun days doing stuff like that. And I just wanted to expand on something that you had mentioned. I know that I have riffed on this on a previous episode, but you mentioned the Your Turn challenge, which is how the two of us met. And if you're a new listener out there, just in case you haven't heard me mention this before, the Your Turn challenge was a 7-day challenge, mostly communicated on Twitter, and it was done by Seth Godin's special projects lead, Winnie Cow, and it basically instructed you to ship something every single day for 7 days straight. It was from a Monday to Sunday in January, and so a lot of people don't really understand what shipping is aside from what you do when you put something in the mail. So I've talked about my definition of shipping many times before on this podcast, and I'm sure I'll talk about it many times in the future. So KG, what does shipping mean to you?
I think I'll start off with maybe how I interpreted how shipping meant for the challenge. And I think what interested me in taking part in the challenge, and I think what's continued over the last month for me as well, and I think is what's going to continue for the next year for me as well, and hopefully onwards, is how you have to bring the concept of shipping things or kind of doing things into everything that you do. So what made the Your Turn challenge accessible was the fact that you just had to send out a blog post at least once a day for 7 days, and it made you think, well, I could do that, and actually the momentum of doing that got you thinking of the projects that you wanted to start or had started, and they kind of faltered to think, well, if I can do this, then I can ship for my projects as well. So I think that the concept of shipping that I understand is it's okay to have an idea, but then if that idea barely makes it to paper or you don't actually build that thing and you don't release it to the world, then you aren't shipping, and you're not using your full potential. I was hoping that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does. And something that you mentioned, which I think is incredibly important, which has certainly helped me since I've done the challenge, is the momentum aspect. You just put a blog post out there once a day, and you do it for a few days, and then you think to yourself, oh, okay, well, if I can do this, then I have this project or idea that's been laying on the back burner, and now I can certainly do that too. And it's a combination of gaining momentum and also I call it flexing the muscle or making the muscle stronger. Like if you go to the gym and want to make your upper body stronger, you can keep doing bench presses and have the weight get heavier and heavier. But basically, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So since you have flexed the muscle and gained momentum, how has that helped you with your latest project?
It's interesting. Okay, so my latest project is a horror podcast. So effectively, it's a horror story that I narrate in and broken up into weekly parts. And I originally released it around about Christmas time and did 2 episodes, and that was kind of me experimenting, but I knew that I wanted to up the quality, and the momentum of the challenge got me from, okay, I need to start thinking about actually recording new episodes and making it a going thing for the year, to actually making a trailer to get interest in the podcast, and getting to the point where this weekend I will release the first episode of the podcast, sort of again, but officially. So the momentum's really helped, and I had this sort of analogy in my mind of how I work out. So what you were talking about working the muscle, training the muscle, is a bit like an internal flywheel for myself. So, if you can spin your flywheel up to post to your blog every day or meditate every day, do some exercise, whatever it is, even if it's, make the bed every day, then because you can do that particular thing every day, or every week, whatever it is, then it really changes how you view doing something else that's a bigger project. So I think the momentum of the challenge really got me to a point where I knew that I could ship something, that there was an audience there that I had to find, and that they would be willing to engage with me. And I was quite nervous when I put out the trailer to the Your Turn Challenge Facebook group and to the hashtag on Twitter, because I knew that there were quite a few experienced people out there that were doing the challenge, and I was really surprised at the people that fed back to me saying they were surprised at the quality, and so that really boosted my confidence that actually there was an audience out there. I just hadn't quite found them yet.
Right. I completely agree with, oh my goodness, there's an audience sentiment, because I have been blogging and tweeting out into the vortex for a very long time. And it's kind of the question of, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? And so if I tweet something out and my followers are completely disengaged, or the Twitter stream is just moving too quickly, does anybody really give a shit? And so, so I know exactly what you mean as far as finally finding the audience, because as soon as I got in front of people and wrote something that I knew would resonate with them, and those people are fellow fans of Seth Godin, I absolutely saw my engagement and shares and everything just go way up. And it's really been a blessing for me to just be able to serve that community and to give them the unofficial Your Turn Challenge Facebook group, and to provide quality content wherever I can. It really has been extremely I would even say life-changing for me. What do you think?
Yeah, Yeah, I think so. I can be terrible at statements like that about life changing, but I would probably have to agree with you actually, in that it has given me a real kick. I did an interesting thing actually. I used the Twitter analytics website and looked at my followers, and you could see the sudden increase in followers exactly at the point that I started the challenge and what started tweeting people that were on the challenge and sharing posts to my blog. That suddenly it just skyrocketed, and I was following the advice that other challengers were giving, and it made me realize that I just didn't know how to find the audience, that there were just a few basic things I need to do, and suddenly I've gone from I think about 76 followers on Twitter to about probably 285 now. So probably by Monday I'm probably looking at having 300 followers. So it's just blowing my mind at actually what is possible, just as long as you persevere and you keep at it and you continue to learn different tactics. Then yeah, it's almost like anything's possible, and your life can change. And who knows where both of us will be by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's very true. Absolutely. And so, as we had talked about in the pre-interview chat, I wanted you to riff on a blog post that I read of yours that I really enjoyed, and the post is called "3 Thoughts to Get You Moving Towards Success." And if you have that in front of you, feel free to riff away. If you don't have it in front of you, I have it in front of me, and I can remind you of what you said.
I'd be interested in probably your interpretation of it, and then I can maybe comment on that. Because does that sound good?
Yeah, well, that sounds fine with me. I know I put my guests on the spot all the time, so I can take it. Yep, I can take it just as well as I can dish it out. So my interpretation of the first item, which is dream big and start small, and the first words I see are bite-sized, chunkier ideas. And the first podcast that I actually released into the world was called Bite-Size Marketing for Entrepreneurs. And really, it was a very Me Too sounding podcast. Like, it sounded like a lot of the podcasts that other people did. And my intentions were really just to experiment. But the overall philosophy of it matched like my sincere core beliefs in bite-sizing things, because the easiest way to get started is to get started in smaller increments. And one of my favorite books that I've read within the past 5 years is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, where he talks about companies can spend a year and hundreds of thousands of dollars building something, and while they're building it behind closed doors and in secret, and then they put it out there and nobody's interested in it, and they wonder, well, why the hell isn't anybody interested in it? And they realize that, oh, wait, you mean during that time that I was actually spending building this thing, I wasn't interacting with the market and finding out what they really needed? Like, holy shit, man, I wish I had known that before.
Well, the market's moved on.
Yeah.
You've turned before you've even launched, you've turned into BlackBerry.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. Yeah, the market has moved on to whatever the next thing is. That's actually a very good point. So you have to bite-sizing things means that you can get out to the market more quickly, so that they can give you the kind of feedback that you need in order to make your product or service or whatever better. And it's also very true that getting out to the market more quickly also means that you're keeping up with the pace of change, which in the age of technology within at least the past 5 or 6 years has been pretty amazing. How's that for an interpretation of at least item number 1?
Yeah, really good. I think also just to get a little bit English literature on it, I think also you can not just about a project or a product that you're developing. I think it can also be about yourself. If you want to be, highly successful in your life, and you want, whether it's lots of money or cars or, whatever it is, or you just want to be a much better person, I think, again, if you bite-sized chunk that, then you're eventually going to get to that goal. That goal.
Right. And that's
Yeah. I froze there for a sec.
Oh yeah, no problem. I actually that's how I've always developed any new habits, is just by doing it once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. And I know they say the magic formula for habits is doing it for 21 days, but whatever the magic number is, which I'm sure really does differ for different people, bite-sized chunking it is a really good way of getting started, at least.
Yeah. And it's. I think you guys have a phrase. Was it dimes and make up dollars, something like that? There's tiny parts that make up something massive. So if you just start by releasing that one podcast episode or that one blog post, or you meditate for 5 minutes, then before you know it, you're meditating for a whole hour. Or you get to the end of the year, and you've been blogging every day just because you started and it was something that wasn't too difficult to do. Or you've released your product, a minimum viable product.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I'm looking at number 2 right now. Excuse me. And I'm thinking, believe in yourself when no one else will. And I actually have an understanding of this in terms of, it says in the beginning that your friends, family, and peers may not be your best supporters. And here's the way that I understand that. If you want to do something that appears risky or out of the norm, like taking a leap into full-time entrepreneurship, then your friends and family might not be your best supporters. If you have friends and family who understand and have done it before, or who want to do that, then they'll probably understand better. But otherwise, your friends and family will want what's best for you, and what they think at least is best for you. And what they think is best for you will probably be something along the lines of staying safe and secure, and not rocking the boat too much, keeping up the status quo. I can't stand keeping up the status quo, but I don't fault any of my family and friends for their intentions if they want the status quo, just because a measure of safety and security means that you're comfortable. It means that you're not homeless or you're not hungry, and stuff like that. And so doing something illogical like making a leap into entrepreneurship full time, basically the analogy is jumping off of a cliff and building the parachute while you're on the way down, hurtling to the earth, doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense logically, but for some people that's just their calling. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important probably to emphasize that you shouldn't block them off completely. So I think you should take on board what they're saying, but you can't invest yourself completely in their feedback. It needs to form your decision making. So you need to hear from them. You need to hear from other people that are entrepreneurs themselves, reading people, writing that people are doing, videos or talks that they're on. But it's just important, like you've said, to realize that they're your safety net, and they're trying to keep you from hurting yourself. And sometimes you've got to say, no, don't worry, I've got this. I don't need the safety net. Watch me. So yeah, I mean, they are an extension of your conscience and of your internal fears sometimes as well. So listen to what they've got to say, but take it with a pinch of salt, because they're not trying to do what you're about to do. And sometimes you've got to have that internal confidence to say, no, I think I'm on the right path.
Right. And actually, something that you mentioned was listen to, aside from your friends and family, also listen to other entrepreneurs and what they have to say. And it brought to mind, I had always thought that I'm just kind of built as an entrepreneur. It's something that I can't not be. That's just the way that I'm wired. And I always thought that entrepreneurs were crazy for the longest time, because all of the entrepreneurs and freelancers that I had met or seen on Twitter or Facebook, they just say, hey, man, you just got to take the plunge and do it. You should not have a plan B. You should just jump out there and just do it with reckless abandon and just do it. And the just do it advice is good advice. But then I recently, as recently as 2 years ago, I started listening to Entrepreneur on Fire. And this is from a guy, John Lee Dumas, who actually made the leap. And the advice that he gives is to just do it. But he had about a 1.5 year long financial runway so that he didn't have to worry about paying his bills, and so that he could concentrate on building the business. So now my view of entrepreneurship is completely different, because you can do it, but you don't have to do it recklessly. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm glad actually you mentioned that second part, because when you were talking about the just go for it, don't have a second plan, just drop everything and become an entrepreneur. That's okay, but what about your mortgage and your family and kids and whatever else it is that you've got commitments to? Or what about what happens if that business idea doesn't work out? Well, actually, if you listen to the stories of an awful lot of successful entrepreneurs or business people, whoever it is, or investors, they're actually a major part of the systems that they have are risk avoidance. So, I'm going to do the due diligence on this deal to work out whether it's going to be a good thing for me to invest the future of my family in. Or, we're going back to point one of the blog post, dream big, start small. Well, maybe you don't need $1 million to start your business. Maybe you can bootstrap version 0.1 and release that to, some engaged people. And self-fund it. So I think that there's one way where you can go to risk it all, but also I think there's a much safer path to say, yes, you can be a bit of a maverick, but you don't have to risk your home and your family on that idea. There is another way of doing it.
Right. So I think the word that best describes it for me, and let me know what you think, is you have to take risks. It is a risk, but it is you can take calculated risks is the term that I'm looking for. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Calculated. Yeah. You've got to think about it for a bit. You don't want to be overthinking it, but you've got to think the scenarios through. And Ty Lopez has a thing about synthesizing the future. When you come across a road, and just as you're about to walk out into the road, what the risks are of just walking out into the road without looking both ways, because you can synthesize the future to work out, no, if I don't look out for the risks, then I'm going to get run over by a car. So if you take a strategic and calculated approach, then you can work out what are the risks. And if the risk is, foreclosure of your home, then okay, what's another way that I can get around that a little bit? Is it trying to take no investment, or making a product that doesn't cost quite as much this time round? So, I think it's very important to make sure you do look ahead and that you don't make stupid decisions, because you don't have to, because you can use your imagination to work out what potentially could go wrong, but then use that to steer around the barriers.
Right. I actually like that answer so much. I could end this interview on that note, but we do have one more point to get to, and that is your number 3, which is reach out to your idols and those who have experience. you will be surprised at the generosity of others. And I'm still relatively new to the game at reaching out to my idols and people who I admire, and it's a muscle flexing thing, because it's really gotten a hell of a lot easier as I've done it over and over again, and I really have gotten positive feedback. And as far as asking influencers for interviews on my podcast, I haven't actually gotten a no yet. The worst answer I've gotten is a not now, but maybe in a couple of months, or maybe when my schedule opens up. I've gotten those answers. I've gotten yeses, and so, and it's not just about reaching out to influencers to interview them. It's also the other day. Are you familiar with Copy Blogger?
Yes.
So the other day, I subscribed to the CEO and founder of Copy Blogger, Brian Clark. He has his own personal curated newsletter called Further, which anyone can subscribe to at further.net. And I tried to share his newsletter on Twitter by hitting a link to Twitter from the email, and it was supposed to basically tweet out the headline, 3 ways to do this, that, and the other, except in my actual tweet box, it just had the first character, which was the number 3. And that was it. And so I saw there was a bug in the system, and since I'm somebody who's a dedicated fan, I went over to the website to actually share it from the website. But if someone else wasn't as dedicated as I was, they would see that all they got in the tweet box was the first character, and then, oh shit, it's too hard for me to cut and paste the rest of it and then try to get the link in there too. So I'm just going to give up. So I just shot him a quick email saying, hey, this is what happened. You might want to look into it. And he got back to me saying, yeah, that's weird. It doesn't work in the email, but it works on the website. Thanks. And I've just had other little minor interactions with him and other people who I look up to. And because of technology, it's really not that hard to interact with people who are your heroes. I'll give you another example. Back from 1999 through 2003, those were my college years, and I was big into the turntable DJ scene. I used to spin hip-hop, R&B, reggae, and a whole bunch of other types of music, and it was really difficult to communicate with or bump into my idols unless I had their number or their email address, or I saw them at the club or anything like that. I couldn't just interact with whoever I wanted whenever I wanted. And technically I could have if I had their phone number, but since I've always been a big introvert and not a big fan of the phone, that would have made things 10 times harder for me. And so now with social media, with Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, I have been able to have just little small interactions with people that I admire, and they have always reciprocated in kind. And so that's just the start of building that relationship with them. And even if you're a big old introvert like me, the technology and the tools have made it a ton easier. And that is my interpretation of your last point.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that my third point could be interpreted as, you know, you're going to get a massive amount of mentorship from somebody, but actually I think it's much more what you were talking about, the small interactions, and it's actually very surprising how successful you can be at getting a response from people that are very popular on Twitter or Facebook, whatever it is, if you just, you know, you actually engage in their discussions. I saw a description of Twitter which was running down the street and shouting at people, and that's I think what a lot of people do is, you know, they send out that tweet blast and just go blah blah blah, random phrase, and that's it. You know, then they log off for the day and think, you know, wow, yeah, I'm on Twitter. But actually, when you start following more people, you reply to their posts, you mention things directly to them, it's actually very surprising how much they reply back to you. And I have had replies from a number of very popular bloggers in the Apple sort of blogging world. I don't know whether you're familiar with anybody, but John Gruber, John Maltz, and a couple of others, MG Siegler, they've all responded back to me, and you just think, oh, actually, somebody popular, did take the time to reply to my tweet, and it's because you're furthering that discussion or the in jokes that they have, things like that. But then that's building the foundation to get towards being able to ask them quite a compelling question and for them to reply back maybe with a yes or no, but that gives you some guidance in where to go, or maybe a link. And you never know where that engagement might get to, where maybe you get to have a bit of a Skype call with them.
Right. That is absolutely true. And I managed to contain my laughter because I wanted to let you finish your sentence. But the idea of Twitter being running down the street and shouting at people, that is absolutely hysterical, and it reminds me of how I have done I've been on Twitter since 2008, and the only reason why I have almost 1,200 followers is because I've been on Twitter since 2008. But I sure have done a lot of shouting at people. And whenever I shout at people, I try to do so on Buffer, and I look at the analytics that the Buffer app gives me to see how many clicks I get. And the only time I ever have more than like 0 or 1 or 2 clicks is when I actually say something that matters, or when I actually engage with someone else and they favorite me or retweet me. So make sure whatever you have to say is important, and it really is social media. The social part has to be there. So wow, I sure have done a whole lot of shouting in almost whatever the math is, 7 years, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I notice, well, I have noticed over the last couple of weeks, spikes in interest when I'm engaged in conversation. But when you send something out compelling, it is very hit and miss as to whether you actually get any clicks. Or I think I've sent a very good link out, and the Twitter analytics tells me someone expanded the tweet but actually didn't click on what the link that you put in or retweeted. So I'm still trying to work out how to actually work the standard tweet, if you like. But certainly just engaging in the conversation, just, like you said, it's social media. So social is the major part of it. And there's lots of discussions that you can put your foot into, and engage with.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that you're absolutely right. I've really enjoyed the conversation that we've had, and I want to wrap things up here just by asking you where can anyone who wants to get in touch with you or see what you're up to, where can they find you, and also how can they listen to your new podcast?
Okay, probably the best thing to do is to listen to the podcast and read my blog is kgheath.tumblr.com, or I'm KG_Heath on Twitter.
Okay, great. And they can find your podcast on the Tumblr site too?
Yeah, I'll be plastering that all over the place over the next week.
All right, sounds good. And I'll also make sure to link everything that you have going on in the show notes page for this episode. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. And you're doing a great thing with the podcast, and I'm really excited to see where you go yourself.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Take good care of yourself.
And yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.